The Lunar Guardsman. Written by Krimar. Chapter 5. Ending It Bitter, Part 2. Celestia decided to table the discussion for later, when both sisters were in calmer spirits. Regden insisted there was no need for a discussion, and according to her own words, Luna had the authority to do as she damn well pleased, as long as they weren't breaking her own laws. Both Luna and Celestia ordered him to shut up. Princess Celestia left, deeply disillusioned with both of them. She wasn't the only one. Twilight waited until Princess Celestia was surely gone before asking,
"You tried to kill Princess Celestia?"
Regden was still angry, and he didn't seem to be able to calm himself down, no matter how hard he tried. Twice. He spat.
"Why?"
Twilight wailed. Why does someone attack one who commands an army, moves the sun, and is stronger, faster, and can burn him to cinders with a thought? He grinned. I got jealous of her room. She has a bigger bed.
"This isn't a joke!"
Twilight screamed in rage.
"Things are obviously worse than I thought. Worse than you ever told me. What have you done, Regden? Are you really feeling no guilt for what you did today?"
Those are some heavy questions, little one. He chuckled. Okay, fine. You are a big girl now. He turned to address Spike. Little Flame, go to your room.
What? No, I want to stay.
The young dragon whined.
Please leave, young dragon. You have already been party to too much for one so young, even for someone of your inheritance. It has been foolish for us to allow you to linger for so long.
Luna supported Regden's order. Regden waited for a grumbling Spike to leave Luna's room before answering Twilight's question with barely contained anger. I've done some things that you do not know about, that you will never be told about. Some of the guard knows, the Solars know, Celestia knows, Luna knows. But if I have my way, you will never know. I have my differences with Celestia at the moment, but I am thankful to her beyond word for keeping it a state secret from everyone else. Applejack popped the question in their minds.
What could possibly be done worse than killing some pony?
Regden didn't answer immediately. He just looked sad and turned his face away from Applejack. Something pretty similar to today, in a way. I have done worse things in my life, but not here. Rainbow cursed her mouth. Why did even her tongue have to be faster than her brain?
What's the worst thing you have done?
Oh, she did not just ask that. Some pony tell her she just thought.
Rainbow!
Nah, shoot. Judging by Rarity's tone, that was not to be. Regden scratched his chin, depression and regret all over his face. He was actually going to answer her? Should she cover her ears? She wasn't sure about hearing what he considered. I tripped a little girl once on purpose. What? What kind of answer was that? Should he ask him for more details? Uh-oh. Rarity was looking at Rainbow's way, and the way she smoldered said no.
You haven't answered Twilight's second question yet, Regden.
Luna, of all ponies in the room, brought them back on track, her posture screaming resignation. Fine. He leaned against the bedhead, defeated. I don't. It just doesn't register. I think. Not him, not his family, nothing. I told the truth to Celestia. Is there a problem? She is right. Right about everything. I screwed up today. We both did. It was not supposed to be this way. Poor Celestia just wants us to feel guilt for this, at least. Have some empathy. But, compared to everything else, what's so bad about the clean death of someone we don't know? I was alive. He wasn't, but I was. And it felt amazing. I know it sounds monstrous. It is, but I am sorry, little one. I am so sorry. I am trying my best, I swear. When it blows, it's really gonna blow hard, won't it? Rainbow got up from her bed. It was useless. She spent half an hour on that darn thing that she all managed to do was make a mess out of it with all her tossing and turning. The sweet nap she craved was out of reach. She knew there was a problem. She couldn't get today's fight out of her mind, and she couldn't stop thinking about Nightmare Moon. They had been lucky, Rainbow knew. Nightmare Moon could have crushed them at any point, but she didn't even take them seriously until it was too late. Discord had done the same, but the Spirit of Chaos took nothing seriously. Nightmare Moon was a different mare, however. If she had truly thought of them as a threat, Rainbow gulped. She was brutal in the stories. She made sure that no pony would even think of challenging her by spreading terror to the likes of which had never been seen. There were tales about ponies who refused to sleep for thousands, the nightmares she unleashed terrorizing them to death. Ponies she caught that would be found later in flayed pieces. Monsters she commanded that would obey her every whim, hurting every pony who got their claws on. Rainbow's childhood was full of nights huddling under her covers after hearing or reading that stuff. And it seemed to Rainbow that there were too many similarities between those stories and what Luna wanted to start doing right now. That fight. She felt sorry for the dead stallion and his family, but that could be attributed to sheer accident. It happened. It hit too hard, or at the wrong place, and bam, it could end for you right there. They were fighting with real weapons, and the Solars pushed him too far. Rigdon himself practically admitted he could have easily died instead. What was scaring her most was what he did to that Pegasus. He could have taken her out of the fight with so many ways. A simple knockout would be so easy. Instead, he casually did the cruelest thing she could imagine. She had been too far away, but she almost believed she could hear the bones shattering and slashing through the mare's flesh as he did his best to pulverize her wings in the short time he had. And he didn't care at all. He admitted he should be feeling guilty for the dead, but he had completely forgotten about her during his apology. It didn't even manage to stick in his mind. He regretted that he was like this, and it felt like it should count for something. But Rigdon was starting to scare her. She admitted to herself. And she certainly didn't want to see what he would do if given actual provocation, or orders. Because if Luna ordered him to do something questionable, Rainbow knew that he wouldn't flinch from doing it. She felt her throat. How strong were those fingers of his? How hard would it be for him to break her neck? Let's face facts. Luna, like Nightmare Moon, already had one monster under her command now, didn't she? Susty obviously had no control over Rigdon, if she ever did, and he felt no guilt or remorse for his actions. All he cared about was Twilight and Spike, and they couldn't be around him all the time or temper him down all that much. Luna might not be Nightmare Moon anymore, but her screws were just as loose, and who could keep her under control if she went off the deep end again? Rainbow didn't want to have to face Nightmare Moon again. She was certain that if they did, this time she would play for keeps. Rainbow needed someone to talk with, share her thoughts, and have them laughed off like silly ideas they were. Okay, not laughed off, that wouldn't be cool, but she went off to find Fluttershy. Fluttershy was not in her room. In Rarity's room, she found the unicorn nodding to whatever Pinkie Pie was talking about, her attention clearly somewhere else with no unending prattle, by the glaze of her eyes. Rainbow was heading to ask Applejack if she saw her when she saw Fluttershy coming out of Twilight's room. "Hey, Flutters," Rainbow greeted her oldest friend.
Oh, hello, Rainbow.
Fluttershy answered. Rainbow had accepted Fluttershy's timidness as a fact of life by now. It still hurt her a little on the inside, however, when she acted that even one of her friends were alone. "Were you talking to Twilight?"
She actually spent more time talking to me. She needed to vent a few things.
Fluttershy was quiet and moved away from Twilight's door, leading the Rainbow to her own room. "Like what?" Rainbow asked, genuinely interested. Fluttershy waited until they were in Rainbow's room before speaking.
She is afraid about Rigdon.
Rainbow snorted. "I think she should be afraid of every pony else rather than him."
That's, the problem.
Fluttershy explained in more detail.
She told me that Rigdon always had problems keeping himself under control. Now that he's actually trained and armed, she's afraid that things will go so bad that Princess Celestia might have to do more than lock him in the dungeon for a few weeks, the next time he loses control.
Oh yeah? That is a disaster waiting to happen, isn't it?
She is also scared about what Princess Luna and Rigdon have planned.
Rainbow was puzzled.
They already told us. They want to set up a lunar guard like Princess Celestia has and start killing monsters.
Yes, Rainbow, but then what? Twilight says that Rigdon is smart in his own way. She described him as furiously impulsive and rash, but if he spends the time to think things through enough, he can sometimes figure out things that even Twilight or Celestia might miss. And Luna is an alicorn like Princess Celestia. They surely have more things in mind than just getting a few ponies on their side like this, and try to gain Equestria's respect by going on needless hunts.
How is going on monster hunts needless? I'll admit, we are doing okay in Ponyville, but it would be nice if we didn't have to worry about Timberwolves or other nasties prowling too close.
Celestia gets reports from all over Equestria for everything,
Fluttershy informed her.
And Twilight took a time to look at some of those. Things are calm. Things have been calm for centuries, actually. There is the random attack, but nothing that would merit what Luna and Rigdon claim. Oh, I just don't know what to think. I want to believe that they are just desperate for some way to be helpful, but letting them do that seems a bad idea.
Rainbow considered what had kept her awake along with what Fluttershy told her.
Rigdon is mighty pissed at Celestia for some reason, isn't he?
Fluttershy nodded and Rainbow continued.
And Luna does have some excuse to be moody with her too.
Right, but one of the things Twilight thought was that they might have something more risky planned than what they told us. They might have something bigger in sight than just some loose chimeras. Things like Discord.
No way! Twilight thinks they want to mess with that guy?
Twilight doesn't know what to think.
Fluttershy was almost in tears.
She is driving herself crazy with scenarios. Maybe they planned something involving Rigdon's people. Maybe they're going to leave Equestria. Maybe they are gasping at straws for the sake of doing something. She kept going on and on like this. I had to force her to go to bed. I don't like using that on my friends.
Rainbow did not want to have her fears confirmed. Still, she had to ask.
You don't think Twilight didn't say anything about Nightmare Moon or something?
Fluttershy smiled relieved.
No, thank goodness. She says Nightmare Moon was gone for good when we used the elements. Luna was basically stripped completely of her magic for weeks. No magic entity can survive that.
That's good enough for me.
Rainbow said in relief before jumping back on her bed. Her major fear now debunked and almost ready for an afternoon power nap. She tired herself with worries long enough. As long as they didn't have to deal with Equestria's greatest terror, they would manage. What was she thinking? She had faith in her friends, and Twilight would find a way to keep Rigdon in check. Princess Celestia would find some way to reason with Luna. Fluttershy would find her own way through the door. Although...
Hey, what time are we having dinner with them again? You have to be kidding me, Twilight. What kind of crazies have dinner at midnight?
Rainbow gripped.
Apparently, Luna is more of a nocturnal pony, and she and Rigdon tend to stay up for a big part of the night.
Twilight said apologetically.
They really wrecked their sleeping schedule to accommodate us yesterday, I think. I couldn't ask them to do more than they already have.
They climbed up the empty tower, the absence of guards making itself painfully clear now, and walked through Luna's unguarded doors. Applejack scoffed, sounding amused, as they did for some reason. There was no pony there to welcome them in.
Maybe we should just shout out for them,
suggested Rainbow.
Rainbow?
Rarity objected.
One does not simply call out for their host in their own home.
We do that all the time when we go to Twilight's.
No, you do that all the time. I won't have you yelling like a yokel inside of the prince's personal chambers.
Applejack patted Rarity on the shoulder to get her attention.
This here yokel would like to know how y'all plan on finding the princess then, unless it's all fine and dandy to snoop around when we're in high society.
That would be very rude.
agreed Fluttershy, causing Pinkie to guiltily close the drawer she was opening and get back to her place next to Rarity.
Well, they are probably in the dining room waiting for us. We will knock on the door, and if they are inside, they will answer us,
Rarity said with a flourish of her mane.
Okay, Rares. Nice plan.
Applejack complimented her.
Why, thank you, Applejack.
Which door leads to the dining room, then?
Rarity's face fell.
Oh, it's probably...
Twilight took the lead.
If these rooms are designed like Princess Celestia's, it's probably this one. Come on.
Twilight didn't bother knocking on the door. She just walked inside and called out, breaking both of Rarity's pleas to decorum in one fell swoop.
Princess Luna, Regden, it's us. Are you in here?
Rainbow wondered if Princess Celestia's room were the same as her sister's. The dining room was small. Oh, they would all fit just fine and have room to spare, but even the guest room where they ate so far was bigger. It was very cozy, however, much like the rest of Luna's room, and a pair of glass doors led to a large balcony. Luna and Regden were rushing inside the room from there as Rainbow and her friends were making their way through the door.
We apologize,
Luna said.
We lost our track of time and forgot about our appointment this night.
What were you two doing out there?
We were just stargazing, little flame. I know it sounds very surprising to hear that we of all people are into that, but... Regden stopped his lame joke when Luna used her bag leg to kick his shin. Rainbow supposed that they were both dressed formally. Luna was in her own regalia as she was during the tournament. Crown, ebony neckpiece, and crystal shoes. Regden wore his repaired armor, which was now probably his official uniform, but without his shield, his helmet hung from his belt, which he now noticed had been supplemented with a couple of long daggers. Luna asked them to take their seats at the round table, while Regden moved to a cabinet and started bringing glasses over with a bottle of wine. It appeared there would be no pony waiters tonight, just like Rainbow thought. Rarity was looking towards the balcony outside, her mouth gaping like one of those fish Fluttershy fed some of her animals. Rainbow tried to see what she was so astonishing about it, but all she knew is that there was a fluffy blanket discarded on the balcony. Rarity was probably having a heart attack seeing the princess leaving something lying on the floor. Rainbow wondered if she would be okay to ask. She had to ask, didn't she? Someone would anyway.
So, what's for dinner?
Regden exchanged looks with Luna. Wondering where your meal is coming from, Rainbow Dash? It's okay, we get it. Luna made tonight's dinner, actually. 7 pairs of eyes widened and several heads swiveled towards an amused princess.
I am an immortal alicorn whose life is measured in millennia. Is it so surprising that among all the time I managed to learn how to cook?
We are sorry, Princess Luna.
Twilight tried to backpedal their reactions.
But we weren't expecting you to spend your time at Castle's kitchens cooking for us.
She didn't. We have a kitchen right here, Regden said.
What? You have a kitchen in here?
It was less of a hassle converting one of the rooms than waiting in front of the kitchen every day to make sure they actually prepared what we asked for, Regden explained.
Where did you get all the appliances and stuff?
Applejack asked. I took them from the castle kitchens, he said. They have plenty.
And they just let you move anything you wanted up here?
Twilight said skeptically. Regden's chest puffed with pride. No. Applejack, Pinkie, and Spike laughed outrageously at his answer. They both acted like nothing happened hours ago. Was this because they wanted to put everything behind them, or did neither of them care? This reasoning behavior stuff was hard and left her doubting everything. Luna and Regden were being okay. They were total jerks to everybody else, but they treated Rainbow and her friends just fine. She could at least rely on that, right?
Sure, as long as Regden knows that you are his kids' friends and Twilight is around, you won't get your wings broken for letting one rip in the same room as Luna.
Her mind challenged, her mental effort to calm herself. Shut up, brain. You don't get a vote. Regden left to retrieve their dishes. He returned pushing a trolley filled with closed plate domes and started placing them.
Ours are the 2 up front, Regden,
Luna instructed him. He nodded and kept serving. After he placed their plates in front of him, he distributed the silverware. Luna seemed to have a special place in her heart for silver, and then poured wine in every pony's glasses. He did all this while keeping a folded towel across his left arm, with overdone bows after placing each utensil down, which led to some hissing when he pulled out his stitches and speaking nonsense in a very bad French accent, It was done 1,000 times before, but seeing Rigdon of all ponies doing that in his intimidating armor was a blast. Rarity even answered him in perfect French. They all waited for him to take his own seat before removing the domes from their plates. Rainbow liked what she found under hers, steaming soup and salad. It looked simple, but oh gosh, the smell of it. She was practically drooling. Luna was good. Forget what she thought before, Luna was best princess. She was directing a grin to Twilight that was sitting in front of her, so she had a clear view of what happened when Rigdon unveiled his own mail. Twilight flinched back so hard she almost fell down. Rainbow quickly turned her head to see what the matter was and saw Rigdon, holding the cover still in the air, looking at his mail in front of him, frozen still. Rainbow recognized one of the plates due to her long friendship with Gilda. Twilight was trying to stammer an apology, but Rigdon was not paying any attention to her. He was looking at Luna, who stared back at him with what had been a proud, self-satisfied expression, slowly turning sour and guilty. Finally, he picked up his plate and stood up. "Ladies," he said to all of them. "Spike, I will be at the study. I return once I have finished my meal." He didn't wait for any pony to answer. He rushed out as fast as he could walk without running. "Oh boy, awkward," Rainbow thought to herself. Every pony else seemed to share her thoughts, except Luna. She was staring accusingly at Twilight.
I can't believe this is what it is about. I am sorely disappointed in you, Twilight Sparkle,
she said while taking a sip of her wine. Poor Twilight was still off her game. She acted like she had no idea what she was actually hearing. Luna continued to speak, her glass held in air by her magic.
We have shared so much with each other, but not another reason you abandoned him, she said with venom. He saved you, he raised you, he bled, suffered, and stayed for you. And was this all it took, Twilight Sparkle? That he eats meat? The simple nature of his species? His diet?
Luna's stern gaze passed over each of them, judging them.
Does this revelation disturb the rest of you too?
Rainbow was the first to speak up and defend herself.
Hey, I used to hang out with a griffin. I even tried meat once.
That had been really yucky, actually, and up to this day, Rainbow still hadn't figured out how she got herself to do that. She would never ask what meat was from, and never wanted to find out. And she pointed at Fluttershy next to her.
And Fluttershy here takes care of carnivores. I thought she minds if Rigdon has to eat meat to survive.
Fluttershy hid her face from behind her hair and mumbled an affirmation. Atta girl. So brave. Applejack and Rarity were hesitant, but supportive.
It's not like we didn't get the idea that he ate meat from the story he told us yesterday. It would be really weird to see him eat it in front of me, but as long as it ain't one of my animals or a pony, I guess that I'm fine with it. Indeed, one cannot change his species' nature, and even now Rigdon has acted as a gentleman to accommodate our perceived sensibilities. I would never be so crass to hold something so small against him. But Rainbow, dear, remember to thoroughly brush your teeth next time for me.
Hey, that was years ago. Dragons eat meat,
Spike said.
I don't, not yet, but I will have to start at some point.
I have a pet alligator,
Pinkie Pie chimed.
His name's Gummy, and I feed him fish, but he doesn't have teeth yet, so I have to cut them into little pieces. But I don't mind because I love him, and I bet Twilight and Spike love Rigdon too, and I think you are wrong.
Am I?
Luna switched her attention back to Twilight.
Your friends have made their clear acceptance, Twilight Sparkle. But what about you?
Twilight had tears hanging at the edge of her eyes. What's more, Rainbow noticed the subtle shaking and pulsing vein. Uh-oh. Twilight wasn't getting upset. She was getting pissed.
How dare you? How dare you?
Twilight's magic was crackling around her. Rainbow hoped it was done on purpose.
Rigdon, I think she did pick up a couple things from you,
she thought.
I have known he was an omnivore since I was 8. I've known about his hunts, and I've been down in the dungeons where he does his butchering, and you accuse me of being so shallow? That I would abandon him because he eats meat? What kind of pony do you take me for?
Twilight was enraged. Luna calmly took another sip, emptying her glass.
I do not know, Twilight Sparkle. Let's find out. Why did you bereave him of the company of the two individuals he loved most?
Twilight's anger deflated.
I don't want to talk about this. Why did you recoil when you saw meat on his plate? It had nothing to do with... I remembered something.
Spike, his eyes wide and begging, did his best to make Twilight open up.
Come on, Twilight. You can't keep it hidden forever. I lost him too long already. Don't repeat what happened.
I won't, Spike. It was a silly thing. Just some stupid idea that I got into my head, and I believed it. Maybe it wasn't so stupid if it drove you to such measures, Twilight Sparkle,
Luna suggested calmly.
What idea was that?
Twilight kept silent, staring at her plate. She was taking deep breaths, trying to calm herself. She would actually do it, Rainbow realized. She was curious, very curious. However, maybe now wasn't the right time. Maybe they all have had enough revelations today.
I believe that I accused Raiden that he butchered and ate a pony.
Rainbow was speechless. That was a rotten thing to do when Raiden was nothing but sweet with Twilight herself. Granted, she could almost believe that he would do something that far-fetched, but for Twilight to say something like this, how did Raiden just forgive something like that so easily yesterday? It's not like Twilight just broke a vase or something. Luna seemed to take it in stride. She just refilled her wine glass, calmness all over her face, and removed the dome covering from her plate to letting them see she had the exact same meal Raiden had.
Right. That was a stupid idea.
Dinner became a quiet affair afterwards. Twilight kept silent and avoided every pony's eyes. Spike kept looking sadly at the empty seat. Luna was concentrating on her meal, expertly cutting small bites and bringing them to her mouth. The rest of them tried to keep from staring. Rainbow was confused. Was this something she should call hardcore or plain disturbing? Oh, thank Celestial, Raiden finally returned. He placed his empty plate on the trolley and sat down. That was some really fast eating. At least now that he was back, they could get rid of the awkward silence. All they needed was something to break the ice.
So, you ever ate a pony?
She asked him nonchalantly. Oh, shoot. She did not just... Bad brain, bad. Twilight's magic lost grip on her spoon from the shock. Applejack and Pinky were gaping at her, not believing what she said. Fluttershy had gone beet red and her eyes were looking somewhere else. Probably the safety of her own home. One of Rarity's eyes was twitching, and the other promised fire and pain when she had rainbows in her hooves. Rigdon unfroze from his surprise and looked at them. Little one, he said, gulping. Did you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Twilight was blushing worse than ever, Fluttershy ever did. Rigdon would thank her lucky stars, decided to drop it. All right, we will ignore that, then. Despite Rarity's forbidding shake of her head, Rainbow decided to take another shot.
Raiden, you think you're gonna get in trouble with the Solar Guard now that you... I mean...
Why? She blamed the lateness of the hour. She was usually asleep by now, and that was the problem. Raiden didn't seem to mind the topic. He took his glass away from his lips and answered her. I have been in trouble with the Solar Guard forever. Steadfast has actually been petitioning Celestia to permanently imprison me every few months, except the last couple of years. He changed his petition to giving me the death penalty instead. Twilight left her stupor with the aid of sheer outrage.
He has been doing what?
Raiden waved her down, drinking the rest of his wine and refilling his glass. Don't mind old Steadfast, he peeved. He has valid reasons to speak the truth. He is tremendously devoted to Celestia, and considering what I've done, I could almost like him, to be honest. At least he is being straight in the dislike, but not actually hostile as long as Celestia tongues on his chain, and he doesn't give her much trouble. I know what to expect from him. Except today. He frowned. He turned to Luna. I guess the opening there was too tantalizing not to take. Luna grinned.
Hopefully this defeat will keep him in check for a while. We need no further complications.
Rainbow finished her soup. It surely was the best soup she ever tasted. She would love to ask for seconds, but she wanted to leave, more than she wanted to fill up her stomach. The clanging of more silverware and empty plates followed shortly after. Raiden rose up once again to gather them on the trolley and wheel them out. He returned soon, bringing a wide tray bearing a tea service and plenty of cups. I guess some tea won't go amiss before you leave for bed, he asked them. Rainbow would prefer to be on her way, but tea would help her sleep much better, she guessed. She waited for Regden to get filling to her cup, too.
Dad,
Spike asked.
what are you going to do next? You going to take part in the tournament again tomorrow?
Nah, we are done with that for now. Celestia will kick my behind if I show up anywhere near. Anyway, Luna chortled, thoroughly amused. I think for now we wait. Stay quiet for a while and see if I can get some recruits. Right, Luna?
Indeed, that is the next step, she concurred. Barring any exceptional opportunities forcing us to divert our course.
Rainbow reached for the sugar. She hated cream in her tea, but she wanted it as sweet as possible. She frowned. Where was the...
Pinky?
She shouted. The thieving pink pony looked at her all innocent, the area around her mouth covered in white.
What is it, Dashie?
Pinky, did you eat all the sugar?
Sugar is bad for you, Dashie. Rarity said so this morning, remember? I'm just looking out for you like any good friend should.
Rainbow heard Rarity's snickers behind the cover of a hoof at her face. Luna was addressing her guard.
It was kind of you to prepare this tea, Regden. I know you don't really enjoy it yourself.
Regden answered her, but what he said and any further conversation from them was lost in the loud, droning voice of Pinkie Pie.
Besides, it wasn't that good sugar for tea,
Pinkie continued.
Someone mixed confectioner's sugar with it. Let me tell you, it doesn't taste as good in tea as you would think. Or milk, or chocolate milk, or...
There were two simultaneous crashes. Rainbow looked over to see Regden had smashed Twilight and Spikes' teacups before they had a chance to take a sip. Rainbow noticed Pinkie's rant fading behind her head. She couldn't blame her. Was Regden finally snapping even at Twilight and Spike? She got up from her seat. He might be armed, but she wouldn't let her friend get hit by any bully no matter who he was. She eyes his side where the stitches were located. "Did you drink any of it?" he yelled. Twilight was staring at the broken shards, confused.
What?
Spike was extraordinarily calm. He was wiping the spilled tea off him with a paper towel.
Kind of hard when it's all over you,
he said. Regden let out a deep breath, looking relieved. Okay, that's good. I think you should all go now. Applejack wasn't keen on letting this go without an explanation.
What exactly is the problem here, big guy? This tea can't be that bad.
There was a thump behind Rainbow. She turned around to see that Pinkie was up to now, but she wasn't on her seat. She looked down. Pinkie was lying on the floor, her whole body trembling violently, white, thick saliva drooling from her open mouth. Rarity and Applejack saw her too and rushed to her side.
Pinkie!
Rarity was terrified and she tried to hold Pinkie still and move her head to the side.
What the hey is wrong with her? Twilight, give us a hoof!
Applejack called out. Before Rainbow could fully turn her attention to her fallen friend, she noticed among the pandemonium Regden slump in his seat and in a hushed voice say to Luna, "Well, Luna?"
That's certainly a way to go about it.
There we go. Part 2 done, and ending on a truly bitter note. With the poisoning of one of the main six, I'm curious how this will go. I can only hope it'll end in sunshine and rainbows. But those who I know don't get poisoned are my wonderful donators. Thank you, Chasely Master, HKH4 aka Texture, The Animated Ghost, Triss, and another amazingly large thank you to Silent Titan. Seriously, thank you for the support, it means a ton. If you want other ways to support me, well, your viewership is more than enough. But a like and a comment do help with the algorithm, and I appreciate it all a ton. Thank you guys so much. Anyways, this has been Final Hearth. Have a wonderful day.